Greetings to each and every one of you. I hope today finds you well. I would just like to mention the fact that you have the opportunity to donate through Patreon if you would like. If you can appreciate these and you listen to them on a regular basis and you have the heart to be able to donate maybe $1 an episode, $3, $4 a month with 4 episodes coming out. We attempt to launch one every Sunday morning, and that would be very much appreciated. If not, that's very much understood, and I encourage you to keep listening. Please subscribe. Share with other people this podcast, so if you're getting something out of it, they may possibly get something out of it. Give it a thumbs up. You could hit up the comment sections to let me know what you appreciate, and we can see how we can go forward in more episodes to be able to accommodate the people that are listening. To donate, simple enough, just hit the description. It will take you into a Patreon account. It is Patreon, Catch It, A New Perception. That is all one word. And enjoy the podcast. Enjoy each episode. I hope that today finds you well. Welcome back to the podcast, Catch It, A New Perception. My name is Katuk. I think about some of the things that we're going to look at in the future and some of the things we've looked at in the past in this podcast and how some of those will be the same. And some will be different, to the degree that you may hear them differently. I know many times in this lifetime I have misspoken. Obviously, when I misspeak, it's not intentional. And I know sometimes people will hear something different than what I say. They'll come up to me and say, I really appreciated when you said this. Like at a speaking engagement that I'm doing. And I know what they're referring to, and they heard it differently. It's the beauty of us as individuals. We're going to hear it the way that we need to hear it. We're going to see it the way that we need to see it. Or we're going to see it or hear it because of the way that we have conditioned ourselves up to this point. So how much changing do we need to do? We talk about the subconscious, we talk about terminology, we talk about changing all of this stuff. We talk about changing it for the better, so we can walk with a good heart, so we can be a good family member. Am I a good relative? Do I walk with a good heart at all times? Neither of those are 100% true all of the time. Do I do better with them than I ever have? I think I do. I show up different. I want to be accountable. We do everything we can within this podcast to help people change the way that they think so they will feel different. And I've had some friends along the way in my lifetime who suffer from different types of mental illness. Whether it's anxiety, depression, bipolar, schizophrenia. And there are certain people who need medication. If you have serious thoughts of suicide on a regular basis, or the suicidal ideations, whatever terminology you use, if they're coming more than just very infrequent thoughts, maybe it's time to get some help from an outside entity. Talk to a therapist, a doctor. Go to the Western medicine that we know can help some of these things. Bipolar and schizophrenia, depression, anxiety. When it gets to a point that it paralyzes you, you don't want to wait any longer to get the help that's available. I believe that once people start doing things like that, when they need it, and they start to feel better, and then they think, oh, I feel better, I don't need this, I feel fine, and decide to stop taking the medication, that doesn't make any sense. To stop doing what you're doing that allows you to feel content or happy or sometimes just okay. The suicidal ideations leave. Well, I'm feeling better. I don't need this medication. Well, what I found is that when I do certain things that allow me to think different, I take different actions to allow me to think different so I can feel different. I don't say, well, I'm doing okay, I don't need to go to the gym. I feel fine, I don't need to do yoga. I don't need to meet with the sacred circle. I don't do those things because I believe the things that got me to where I am, the actions I took that changed my way of thinking, I need to continue to do so I can continue to change my way of thinking. The great balance for me is knowing that I'm in a better place than I once was, not being arrogant about that. The great balance for me is understanding that everything ebbs and flows. Sometimes I don't feel so great after doing yoga and meditation, and other times I feel just fabulous. And the residual effect long term, I believe, allows me to be content each and every day without foreign substances to create that illusion of instant gratification that I look for. Foreign substances such as drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, those things that I don't need outside of myself. I've learned that when I do certain things, I get certain results, and I continue to do those things, and I continue to move forward the way that I need to. Thinking of how I've learned to honor the four winds first. Each and every day, I ask the Creator to guide my thoughts, my words, and my actions, and I ask that I be of service to everyone I meet. That doesn't mean to be of service in my mind. It means to be of service in their mind. And I don't know their mind. So I just do my very best to get outside of myself. And I honor where the four winds come from in those four directions before I go to the next three directions. And I honor all seven directions to the best of my ability each and every day. So that should encompass everything on earth, everything from the spirit world and beyond. Everything within me and everything within you. So I try to look at these things differently. And finding balance in my life is really important. Not that I don't like to feel exhilaration and those types of things, because I do. I want to enjoy what I'm doing. I want to be content. Finding balance in my life means being able to find a circle of people in my life that work. So when I speak of a sacred circle, take it as you will. What is your perception of that? Is it a temple, a synagogue, a church, a sacred fire, an inipi? Whatever those things are to you, Where do you find that you have your people that you can commune with, that you feel connected to, that you want to get back to soon? If you walk into a church when you're young, because someone takes you to a church, and you feel connected, chances are you're going to want to return. If you walk into that church and you don't feel a connection to the Creator, to God, whatever deities that is, a church, a temple, a synagogue, a sacred circle, you walk in and you don't feel connected, you'll not want to go back. And when you do feel connected, whether it's to the people, whether it's to a deities, when you feel connected, you want more of that. Maybe you found the connection to yourself. Maybe that's really what it is. Maybe that's what you've been looking for. And you walk into some sacred circle and you find that connection. You realize you are that connection. You leave that sacred circle and you feel connected to other people more than you ever have, because you found the connection to yourself or to that power, that great mystery, the Creator. You found that connection. You felt a connection to yourself, and now you feel a connection to others. This is what we're talking about. This is what we're working towards. What we're working towards in this podcast is for each and every person that listens to it, that you feel more connected than you ever have. That you are being connected to other people, to yourself, to the Creator. You are connecting in every way possible. A connection. So if we live for memories and emotions, and the connection is what we're looking for, and the connection is what we need, how do we go about that? For one, you're going to have to show up. You're going to have to show up somewhere to get connected, whether that's showing up in your own life and doing that yoga, that meditation, that quiet practice, that stretching, that going to the gym, whatever that might be for you. Take that first step. Try to go inside of your heart and then reach out. Rather than look outside of yourself to feel better, look inside of yourself to feel better. You don't necessarily have to do a deep dive. You may need to clear some wreckage of the past. You may need to take care of some things that have haunted you. If you're fighting with your shadow, still today, especially for those of us that are not good at fighting with our shadow, if you're still fighting with your shadow, or you're still running into yourself, whatever terminology you want to use, if you're still fighting with yourself emotionally, and you haven't reconciled the wreckage of the past, it makes some of this more difficult. So being able to reconcile that wreckage of the past means that you're okay with the things that you have done. You find a contentment with the way that you've treated other people up to this point, knowing you're not going to treat them the same again. You're going to do everything in your power to not offend those people, to not come across the way you once did, or to not do what you did in action. There are many different ways to do this, to reconcile with the things that other people have done. Maybe the way that you've been offended, to take a look at that and see how you can reconcile that within you, it may or may not have to do with the other person or entity that offended you. You may need to be able to look at this differently. Take an outside point of view. Look outside the box. Step back so you can see the box differently. Go directly one direction. Move sunwise. Walk around that box and realize that when you see it from the other side, it's a different point of view. Can you imagine what it's like to walk in someone else's moccasins? Trace their footsteps, the trauma they endured, the life they once had, the way they were once treated. They didn't know how to do things any better, and they did them the way that they did, and that offended you. And when you understand that, maybe you could see things differently. I don't want to see something from just someone else's point of view. I want to see it from their point of view. I want to see it from an outside point of view, not just their point of view and my point of view. I want to see it from the outside. I want to see it from every angle possible. I want to be able to explore the idea that there's more ways to see it than I could even imagine. And am I okay with not being able to imagine everything today? Moving forward with our lives and the way that we perceive things will dictate how we feel. How are we going to change that? What are we going to put into it? Are there things that we need to reconcile with our past so that we can see things different in the future? Is there a point of view that we need to change? How is it that we step back and see every point of view? I believe for me it's been a process. Now, some of the things that I experience, I can change something and totally change how I think with just a simple action, and I totally feel different. I can do it right now, today. And all of a sudden I see things different. I feel different. And that's what I'm looking for. And on the other hand, there are things that have taken me decades to get where I'm at. And sometimes people get frustrated. They're like, well, I want to do it perfect. I want all of it right now. Well, if you want all of it, you may need to start walking towards it right now. You may need to start making immediate changes to be able to get somewhere in the future. Little steps. If you want to walk a mile, you better take the first step. The only way you're ever going to run a marathon is to take the first step. Run the first mile before the second mile. And you're going to have to run the 22nd mile before you finish that marathon. So there may be some steps in between that need to be taken before we can accomplish everything we want to do. And everything is possible. The things that you didn't think could happen will happen if you take the steps towards it. If you tell yourself it can't happen, it won't. You will never take the steps towards it. When you flip that switch and say, I can do this, I'm going to do this, and then you take the action towards it. You will be able to accomplish things that you never thought you would. You will be able to see things the way that you never imagined you could see them. And you will feel differently about things that you never thought you would. To carry resentment is not worth it. It does not injure the person at all. We want to be conscious of why we're carrying resentment. We should take a look at it. I believe, if you look at the origin of the word resentment, means to refeel. So you, the one who resents someone else, is the one who continues to refeel. They don't. It don't bother them one bit, the fact that you resent them, that institution, that person. It does not bother them one bit. And it's eating you up. So they're still getting to you. Or if you will, they're still winning. I often don't like that terminology. I don't think that we win or lose in life. I think that we get through life in a good way when we walk in a good way. And when it comes to resentment, and you're resenting someone else, I like that terminology. They're still winning. Because they don't feel it. They're not affected by your resentment. There are different analogies for it. Carrying a resentment is like someone that carries a resentment. It's like drinking poison yourself, hoping the other person dies from it, because it's eating you up and it doesn't affect them one bit. There are different ways to take a look at this stuff. There are different actions that we can take each and every day to begin to change the way that we think. And the more we begin to change the way we think, the more we begin to change how we feel. And we realize at that moment that we are getting to know our higher self. That outside things don't dictate how I feel. What happened to me doesn't dictate how I feel. The way I think about it dictates how I feel. I hope that each one of you gets something out of these podcasts as you listen. That your thinking can shift. That your action can be different. If you're suffering more than what some of this stuff can do for you, please reach out to other sources that can help you. I will never be able to say often enough a 3-digit number for a suicide hotline is 988. Please, if you call that number one time, please, at that time, take the action. Continue to take the action that will help you to never have to call that number again and never take action towards ending your own life. When we need things that are bigger than us, we go to sources that are bigger than us. Let's keep in mind that we can do something for someone else. When we take an action to help someone else, it may be an action that allows us to feel different. Do everything you can today to help another human being. You don't have to do it so that you feel different. I don't think that's the best intention to carry in to helping someone. It's just an end result. Looking forward to next time. Live in harmony with and use the bounty of the land to bring kindness to the world. Don't shout, okay?